action.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
How is everyone going?
Very good, thank you.
Fine. Good morning, everyone.
Welcome. We are very glad to have you here today. We have with us Rachel Sharp, who is the chief editor of the Hillingdon Herald, and Mr. Steve Cohen, who is the head of news for the Hillingdon Herald.
This is Off the Record with Aditi and Gaby. And we are very proud and happy to have you guys with us here today as our first guest and first edition of this
the record.
podcast.
Yes.
Absolutely honoured to be the first guest. Thank you very much.
Woo.
I'm honoured, and as it's off the record, I'm pleased to tell your audience that we spent 20 minutes trying to work out why the system didn't work.
Yeah,
and the wonderful Gaby then, with her technical skills, worked out the sound volume
Thank you.
Hadn't been turned on. So that's why. So we're back now in the 21st century.
We are.
Next, we're going to teach them how to take the cap off cameras
Of the lid.
and how to take the lens cap off.
I should
That's
have
our
checked
next
this for
class.
YouTube. Maybe it's not recording properly. But
No.
it is.
Right. I'm
Be
looking-
reassured,
I'm
Steve.
looking-
It's
yeah.
all right.
We're
It's
fine.
It's
We're
fine.
fine.
We're fine. We're
And
good to go.
next, we're going to show them how to use a pen and pencil.
Yeah.
Thank you,
We
Steve.
do need tutorials for that.
Okay.
We look forward to it.
How are you
Thank you
guys
very much.
feeling?
Yeah, good, thank you. Very
Yeah,
excited.
thrilled to be with you, two wonderful students, we may call you, at Brunel University, London.
Yes.
Enthusiastic, going above and beyond the call of duty.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So
So
we get started?
Let's get started.
Let's
so,
get started.
so as I said earlier, this is the first edition of the podcast, and this first edition is going to be focused on the Hillingdon Herald.
Wow.
So a quick reminder for people who may not know what the Hillingdon Herald is. The Hillingdon Herald is one of Hillingdon's local newspaper. It is produced by
Can I
the...
interrupt? It's really
Tell me.
Hillingdon's premier local
No,
newspaper.
you're right.
And
It
I
is.
don't precisely know, but there isn't much competition there. What would you think, Rachel?
No, I agree. There is another newspaper that could be considered fairly local, but yeah, I think we are the only. I would go so far as to say we're the
Ooh.
only local newspaper.
So let
in
me
Hillingdon.
rectify that.
Certainly
Oh,
for
yeah.
print.
Definitely. So let me
We
rectify that. Hillingdon Herald is Hillingdon's premier and maybe only newspaper
I think there
of
are
Hillingdon.
others, but
Yeah.
I mean, to actually concentrate on Hillingdon, to cover the local Hillingdon news,
Yeah.
the community news, we are certainly thought of as number one now, I believe.
Sweet. Perfect. And so it's produced by the students of Brunel, but it is available to everyone and it's free.
And
So,
it's free.
Yeah.
Absolutely free for anyone to pick
Definitely.
up.
so let's get started with the questions.
Yeah. So I want to ask you guys, where did the idea of the Hillingdon Herald come from?
The idea came from, say, before I was teaching here at Brunel, I was editor of several local papers. I used to have a local paper here in Hillingdon that I was editor of many, many years ago, and it folded due to the recession, sadly. And since then, there haven't really been any local papers. Obviously, print is not traditionally seen as the go-to source for news anymore. Everybody goes online. There is so much online available here, everywhere. Everywhere you go, everything's online. And we thought it would be a good idea to bring back print, traditional print. It gives students the opportunity to learn how to actually properly report on print news in a print newspaper, learning design techniques, photography, writing for print, all those things. And there was a huge gap in the market. So I went to somebody at Brunel and suggested it. I actually tried suggesting it about 5 years ago, but I was kind of shooed away very quickly and told to be quiet.
Well, sooner than later. Here we are.
Yeah. So I kept persevering, and Steve, obviously, who is also a very, very well thought of editor and has been in journalism for many years like me. So between the two of us, we concocted it, didn't we? And away we went.
Well, I'm well thought of in my own mind, certainly. I think I've been in journalism for, I counted actually, it's 42 years.
Wow.
So I went to the London College of Printing when I was 18, and so my background was print. ink in my blood, so they say.
That's a good saying.
And what we found in 1994, when the internet was born, there was a lot of panic within the industry, huge panic among traditional journalists. This is going to do away with our jobs. And the legendary editor of the Times, Harold Evans, I think he said this, he's quoted as saying this, he said, am I worried about print dying and the internet taking over? Will it kill off papers? And he said, what if the internet came first? If the internet came first, electronic newspapers online, and then someone said, I've invented something called print. And everyone said, what is print? And the answer is, it's a newspaper that you can hold in your hand, carry everywhere. You don't need to turn on anything electronic. You can hold it on the train. All the news for that week will be compacted in one edition. And everyone would cry, oh my God, it's going to kill the internet. And so I used to tell that story in 1994 or 95. And I didn't believe it myself. But fast forward to 2021, when we bought our print paper out, we actually found that was true, that our readers in Hillingdon loved the fact that they could read everything in print. It was a game changer. And a lot of people within the industry, I know I'm talking a lot, but a lot of people within the industry still haven't. It took them a long time. Journalists are like dinosaurs, and it took them a long time to change from print to online. But when they changed, it's suddenly now it has to be online. Everything has to be online. But it's almost like they don't realise anymore that people still want print.
And I think the point Steve's trying to make as well is that they are very different beasts, aren't they?
Yeah, you're going to shut me up.
No, I'm not going to shut you up. I mean, I'm always trying to shut you up. But no, they are very different beasts. Online is a very, very different experience to print newspapers. So I think that there is definitely a place for both. And we've chosen to focus on print. So, and our readers like it. So that's all that really matters, actually, is that our audience likes it. That's what we do it for.
Definitely. So you guys were the two of you were the main people involved into this. Was there
and
other
Wolfie
people
Mayfield.
involved? And Wolfie.
He made a huge contribution.
Yeah, so Wolfie Mayfield, when I was editor in my previous life before here, he was my chief sub-editor. So he worked for me.
Okay.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, he worked for me many years ago, and he was just fantastic. He's again another, myself, Steve, and Wolfie. We've all got the print in our blood, the printing ink in our blood. It's just, when you're a journalist, it just is something that you are, isn't it, Steve? It's something that you can't really explain. It's just in you. And Wolfie was always like that as well. So when Wolfie started working here as a lecturer, and then the idea for the Hillingdon Herald came about, it was obvious that Wolfie was going to be part of it. And he jumped up and down for joy, didn't he?
Very Wolfie-like.
It's actually quite amusing, because all those years ago, journalists would fight against the concept of the internet about 24/7 news, saying it's going to kill print. And one of my ex-members of staff apologised to me a couple of years ago and said, we should have been more receptive to it. But now I actually see the industry thinking online's everything, social media's everything. And of course, it's a massive part of it. But I think people are leaving print behind unnecessarily. I think there is a place for it. Yes, it's expensive, possibly, but we've done it in a cost-effective way. And I think we've found in Hillingdon, as Rachel says, an outpouring of love for the print product that they can read on the train, they can read in the library, that all the news is collated in one easy edition. And people say, why don't we have a bigger online presence? Well, you can find news everywhere in Hillingdon online. You can find it from a multitude of sites. We concentrate on print, and it's working really well for us.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So as you guys said that it was you, Wolfie, and Steve. So were you the only three people involved in the making?
Yeah, well, I say with the people. So obviously, we decided that I was going to be editor, Steve was going to be head of news, Wolfie was going to be head of production. But it was actually during coronavirus, so it was the summer of sort of towards the end of coronavirus. We had a group of master's students here that were doing the masters in journalism, and we broke the news to them that we were going to do this, and they were absolutely amazing. They just said, right, we're going to do it over this summer. We'll help you. And so they didn't even have to, it wasn't compulsory for them, but they came into the newsroom. I can see us all now actually still sitting there wearing masks and everything in the newsroom and planning out pages, the design, how it was going to look. We had to think what the name of the newspaper would be. We had one student, Prachi, who designed the masthead for the Hillingdon Herald, so it's still her design being used today. We planned out how many sports pages, how many leisure pages, news pages, what each page should look like, what our style was. And we had great fun over that summer, literally planning everything with this group. So we couldn't have done it without that particular group of master's students who were incredible. And then we put together our first edition in the September with the help of all those students.
Wow.
And the Hillingdon Herald was born, and it's been going ever since. So, yeah, they were incredible.
But it was really freaky because we had COVID, and for 18 months we were working from home, and we met this group of students. They were a fantastic group of postgraduates from all over the world, actually mostly India, but we had from lots of places around the world. And we'd never met them in person, and we just saw their faces every week. And so the first time in the newsroom was a revelation. It was, oh my God, you're so tall. Oh my God, I didn't think you'd look like that.
I can remember us
like,
being in the
wow.
newsroom and students saying, oh my God, I didn't know you looked like that. And I think it was Devanshu who was really, really tall, and on camera he had looked as if he was quite small. And he walked in, and I remember Shumik, one of our other students, saying to him, oh my God, you're like a giraffe. And we'd never seen these people in real life, and then we met together to build up the Hillingdon Herald. So that was
But
fun.
the upshot for that is that some of them landed really good jobs on the back of the Hillingdon Herald, and that's ultimately, of course, we want to inform the community. Of course, we want to do a good job, but we also want to get our students work. And the concept from Rachel was very strong on this, and I don't probably congratulate enough for this, but
Never
Rachel
congratulates me.
always insisted it couldn't be a campus newspaper. It couldn't, because they're 10 a penny around the world. It had to be it had to be unique, and it had to be produced on campus, but for the community. And as a result, people like our American student got a very high-ranking job on a national newspaper.
He did,
and
yeah.
it's the Hillingdon Herald did that. So that's ultimately what we're about, to help our students, and the byproduct is we help inform the community, and we have a good time. So it's all good. And Brunel have supported us extremely well, I have to say, on this.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say Steve and I are both very, very proud of it, and very proud of our students, because we couldn't do it without
you
you
should.
guys.
As you should, and we are so proud and actually very grateful to be working here.
It's
Like,
an
I'm
amazing-
not a journalism student, but I'm a PR student, but I'm so glad to be working with you guys every Friday, and
Thank
Steve,
you.
talking to you every Fridays.
Thank you. Well, the dynamic on Friday.
Aditi has a thing
so
for
for those
Steve.
who probably have never worked on a university or have had any minimal contact with the university, it's a bit weird because we're lecturers. So I lecture in various subjects, and obviously as a lecturer, I've got to be slightly different because I'm lecturing, I'm taking a class.
Yeah.
But when I'm in the newsroom, my newsroom persona comes in, which is
Doesn't it just?
slightly different. And in a
Switch of
newsroom,
personality,
you're more maybe more clubbable, but more aggressive, more demanding, more expectant of people because they're doing a job. And
You
it's
just
quite
go
difficult
like-
to jump from one to the other.
It
so
is.
next week I'm in the class and I've got to look after my students. But on Friday, well, they're working for me, they're reporters in the real world. And it's quite different. So if I'm, obviously I don't swear, but if I'm coming, if you catch me almost
Liar.
swearing, you'll know why, because it's Friday. But
It's true. It is definitely a switch in your head. But I feel when I'm in class, I am Rachel, the lecturer, and I feel as if, I hope I'm fairly professional. But
there's an ambulance. Go and chase that, Rachel.
quick
We used to
story.
chase fire
Story
engines
for
That's a
and-
story.
Herald.
That's a story.
That's a story. Yeah.
Someone go out and see what's going
But
on.
I always feel like, Rachel, you might be the same as you are when you're teaching and when you are in the newsroom with us. I don't know. I just get that feeling from you.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I think
Yeah.
I'm quite. It's yes. I don't know. You'd have to ask my students, but I think it's quite difficult to. I mean, the students are amazing, and they're not. Nobody's a child. They're all over the age of 18. So we're working with adults, but you do obviously have to be careful in class because you don't want to overstep the mark.
Yeah.
Whereas in a newsroom, you do tend to get that newsroom mentality. You're really busy. You're really stressed. You're shouting at people, where's my story? I need this and I need that. So that does kind of take over. But I think you'd have to ask my students, but I think probably I'm fairly relaxed in class as well. I think it's just the personality that I am. So I don't think I'm particularly... I was going to say I don't think I'm particularly professional. I can't say that, can I? I'm extremely professional, is what I meant to say. Of course. Thank you, Gaby.
You're professional when
I mean,
needs to be professional, and then the other way around as well.
Absolutely.
What one other point to come out of it on talking about stress is for our students, we are asking them to go above and beyond. So as journalists, they have to make some difficult contact with the outside world. And one thing I would say, that most organisations treat us with respect and are very good, but there are some organisations that won't be named that I'm being appalled by, quite frankly, because they don't take students seriously, student journalists seriously, and perhaps occasionally our student journalists and learning maybe don't use the right terminology or are a bit clumsy in their first contact. But there are some organisations out there that just, oh, you're students, we don't talk to you student journalists. Well, I'm sorry, if you're watching this, how do you expect student journalists to become proper journalists if you don't allow them space?
Yeah.
And so we have to obviously backstop that quite a lot and then go back to the people and put that right. But it has saddened me occasionally. Most of the time I've been very encouraged by the reception we get. But this is a real paper and students have got to learn somewhere. And we, as their lecturers, do look after and we make sure that everything is safe and at high quality. But I just, if anyone from the community is watching this, I would make an appeal that if you get a student journalist make an inquiry, don't just dismiss it, oh, you're just a student. This is going to a proper paper. They will be looked after. They are trained. They will be debriefed. But occasionally they'll be a bit clumsier than maybe a professional journalist. And how do you expect, people slag off journalists unfairly, in my view. How do you expect someone to make the transition if they don't, first of all, try it out in the real world?
And also I feel, give you a chance. And I feel bad for students as well, because I've had a few students that have come up to me and they said, oh, Rachel, I don't know what to do. And this person won't talk to me. And they look so dejected and so disappointed. Yeah. And so I feel that for them, and I think that's really harsh. And as the editor, I'm more than happy to take anybody on. So I would normally say, pass them over to me. I'll deal with them. But it's not, everybody has to learn sometime. And I would also say, I do agree with you, Steve, but I think our students are fantastic.
Oh, our students have been fantastic about it.
They are so
but it can be
good.
Demoralising for a student. Oh, you're just a student. We don't talk to...
Yeah.
And what this is going in a proper paper, being read by the public, 10,000 copies, which is more than,
it's
a
big.
lot of print papers.
Exactly, it is big.
And I suppose, occasionally it might be our fault for not transmitting the fact that this is going out into the community, that we are being looked after.
Well, I think sometimes
control.
people see Brunel University and they think it's a campus paper or they think it's a university paper. It doesn't matter how many times I've said over and over and over, this is a proper local newspaper. We're regulated, monitored by IPSO. We have all the professional standards, but some people still see the fact that it's attached to a university and think that it's not a professional paper, and it is. So, you can understand some people thinking, oh, perhaps it's just a campus paper, but it's absolutely not.
But the irony is our students, even at being students, are possibly well-trained, better trained. Oh, that didn't come across very well. than a lot of working journalists out there, because they're doing their shorthand, they've got their media law, they've got public affairs. So they are well trained. They just haven't maybe had enough lived experience as a journalist.
Which
and
is
that's
what the
we're trying to give
Hillingdon
them.
Herald is all about.
Absolutely.
It's the lived experience. So it's giving them that.
As a journalist student, I'm very grateful to have the Hillingdon Herald every week.
You're enjoying it.
But Gaby, did you find when you first made those calls, you made errors or you didn't count?
Can I just point to the fact that Steve is now taking over as the journalist and interviewing Gaby?
That's no problem.
I thought this was a podcast where I'm just
answer.
asking Gaby, who's I must say, for the sake of the podcast, who's been an exceptional reporter, done some great stories. But when you first, as a student, did your first inquiry, was that difficult? How did you feel, and did you make mistakes?
Of course, it was difficult. Of course, it was difficult at first because I've never done it before. I've never read. I've read articles, but I've never written one.
No.
And so obviously, it was all very new, and I was a little bit clumsy, I think, at the beginning. But the fact that you guys were there to give us feedback and help us write, and just there to encourage us to give it a go, to give it a try, it's very welcoming and very encouraging, actually.
Yeah,
for
I'm
us
glad
to
to
do
hear
it.
that. And actually, for us, one of my favourite things is exactly what you've said. So I can see how quickly students progress. So I can see the stories they've written in their first few weeks. And then months later, I read their stories and I go, wow, look at that. Look at how much they've learned just by doing it.
And how far they have come.
Yeah.
Like you
so
read your first story
amazing.
and the story from the last month.
Even
like,
I
damn.
feel it. Like if I compare the first stories that I published and the ones that are like coming out next month, like I'm doing probably this is exclusive content here, but probably like a full double spread page on TFL, and I have
Yeah.
like so many things to
we'll
read
see
about.
So
that.
many
If
We'll
the
see about
quality's
that.
up.
Yeah,
But,
as long as you get it to us on deadline,
exactly.
you'll be fine.
Sorry. Yes.
But what my question
Priorities.
is when you're interacting with the community or asking a difficult question of a person or organisation, do you think, have you learned along the way?
Absolutely. Yes. Of course. A lot from many people's experiences and I mean many people's backgrounds as well. Like it's it's very insightful to
Because
work
I think
along
as a
with
journalist, I
people.
remember when I was 18, I had to make my first call to
One
council.
of Steve's stories coming
pan-
up now. Hang on,
panicked.
everyone.
So I was so nervous and I was so terrible. But what you've got to realise on the other end, they're as nervous as you because they're nervous about dealing with journalists.
Yeah.
Look at her. Yeah. Okay, look, carry on, editor. You take over it.
Sorry.
So
Steve loves the story, doesn't he?
Yeah, he loves staying. And we know
Steve
that.
loves to talk, and we love.
But don't worry, Steve,
that.
you're smashing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
no
love to listen
smashing
to
it.
him, right?
Can we get a smash in the microphone?
No.
Oh,
No.
come on, Steve.
Go on and say smashed it.
It's smashing. Anyway, the show is slowly coming to an end.
Oh, that was fast.
20 minutes time flies when we have fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
We want to ask you guys an unrelated question because we want to keep the show a little bit entertaining and unhinged. So we
Ooh,
have a little
unhinged. I
a
like
little
that.
bonus question. Should I go for it?
Yep.
So the question is, what is your song of the moment? So something you have been listening
on a
on loop. You
Wow.
can check on your phones if you want, like on
you
your
can open
Spotify.
your
If you have
Spotify,
Spotify,
Apple
See
Music,
my
anything.
most played. Do you know what? Mine's going to be so embarrassing.
it's fine.
It's fine.
It's judge-free zone here.
Yeah.
Safe
Because
space.
I
Safe
like
space.
so much music, and I have such a wide taste in music
Oh,
that it's insane.
I-
But
totally get that. Me too.
I mean, I literally like so many different things. I like country music. I mean, insane. But I went to see the Bob Marley film One Love at the cinema the other night.
Oh.
And so I've been listening to Bob Marley on a loop for about 5 days in a row
Ooh,
now
that's
because
nice.
I love
That's
Bob
nice.
Marley.
That's a good artist.
And yeah, I do love Bob Marley. So the latest one that I have been listening to him was...
I mean, there's music every Friday at the newsroom.
Yo,
So
definitely.
we love that
That's-
music.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
which is from Rachel's playlist, as
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah, I will be playing Bob Marley a lot on Friday. So yeah, Bob Marley's
Yo.
my man of the moment just because I saw the film and
Nice.
Amazing.
I was just reminded how great he was.
Sweet. What about you, Steve?
Well, my background was punk and what we used to call new wave in the 1970s. So I've always been into that. But if you're asking the last week, for some reason, I was at a loose end, so I started playing the Beatles again after all these years. And I
He
hadn't
was
heard
playing
them.
that in our office when I came in yesterday.
And the song that really stood out, which I didn't know very well, was "And I Love Her."
Mm-hmm.
That's not about Rachel.
No, of course not. Why
But,
not?
you know, and it's such a lovely song, and it's not a song that I knew that well. But the Beatles, when I first got into them, was in the 1970s, and they seemed a really old band, but they were only less than 10 years
Yeah.
since they disbanded. Then now they're really old, but you listen back and they're incredible.
And I love music. I have to have music everywhere I go, in the car, in the shower.
Same.
Just all day long. I love music. And I came into the office yesterday and Steve was playing the Beatles quite loudly, and I walked in and he went to turn it off, and I was like, no, don't turn it off.
it
Oh my
on.
God, keep it
Yeah.
on. So yeah, I love music.
Right,
I
but
love music as well. I listen music all the time.
What
I need
music?
music to do
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
what
same.
music?
Anything. Like, I'm a big Swiftie.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course. Oh my God, I'm a
Taylor
Swiftie.
Swift.
Taylor Swift.
We love you.
Oh,
Yeah, I
we
don't
do.
even know
We
what
love
she
you,
does.
Taylor.
I have no idea what Taylor Swift
Oh
does.
my God, Taylor Swift.
You know, I had no
Oh,
idea.
you
I
probably
didn't
know a
who
couple
she is.
songs.
Huh?
You probably know a couple songs.
If
No,
you-
I don't. I
If
don't.
you heard them, you would know them.
And what about you, Gaby?
Let's do some Swift
Um,
music Friday.
Yeah.
Right now, at the moment, that's a good question. I think I'm very into music films at the moment. I really like listening to the original soundtracks of the movies I'm watching.
Yeah, movie soundtracks are great.
Yeah.
Well, I've also got into I don't understand it, but classical music. As my son plays classical music,
Yeah, it's very
Wow.
good.
quite a high level. But the one shout out music wise that I should give, because he's 50 this month or last month, was Robbie Williams. Really underestimated a genius that guy is, and it doesn't really fit into my punk background.
punk
but
era.
Robbie Williams is
But it's
his
good to
body
have
of
a
music is
different
absolutely brilliant,
eclectic
and I
Yeah.
think, you know,
Yeah, I can listen to Robbie Williams, excuse me, and appreciate he was good. Harry Styles.
Harry Styles
Harry
is
Styles,
very
yeah.
good.
He was
obviously.
so underrated. Obviously, he was in One
Yeah.
Direction, and everyone just
he's
thought
doing
of him as
very
being
good
as
on
a
its
boy
own.
band. But yeah, I mean, my
Yeah.
God, his voice is phenomenal.
Harry's House, album of
Harry's
the year.
House.
Album of
Love
the year,
Harry's
yeah, it
House.
was
Album
so
of the
good.
year was very good.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
So this is it, guys.
No more questions.
No more
No more
questions.
questions because sadly we are running out of
Because
time.
Steve talked too much. wasn't
No,
he?
no. I mean, you're
No.
here to talk, so you're
Yeah,
doing
but
perfectly
you just-
fine.
This
Did you
is
see
the
the
only
death
thing.
stare Steve just gave me?
Okay, so thank you for being our guests
Thank
for
you
this
so
first
much.
edition. I
We
hope you
are-
enjoyed it.
Yeah, and we are very glad and grateful that you guys were ready to come to our show.
Thank you.
I loved it. Thank
And
you for having
sorry
us.
again for the technical issue at the beginning.
Yeah, minor
Absolutely fine.
inconvenience.
the
Minor
minor
inconvenience.
inconvenience.
Yeah, that's journalism, though, isn't it?
Exactly. And as for the audience, we will ask you to stay tuned for next week's episode because this is only going to get better.
Not that this was not better, but
I was
you
gonna
wait and
say.
you watch.
What do you mean it's only going to get better? You're saying that we were the worst? Oh my
True,
God.
true.
Yeah, you're right.
No.
Anyone in
No,
next
You-
not
would
we
be
not
better.
that
couldn't
this
have
will get better.
We couldn't have had better guests than you guys.
I'm sure you could.
Exactly.
No.
I'm sure you could.
Thank you, guys.
It's
No,
like I
of
always say Rachel's. People say Rachel hasn't got the brain of a 3-year-old, and I say, yes, she has. How dare you?
That's
We
ex-
do
that's for
like
you.
each other, really.
Off the record for you.
Off the
Yeah.
Off the record.
so
Off the record.
same
Yeah.
place, same time, and well, this was Off the Record with
Aditi and Gaby, we'll see you.
Au revoir.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Sayonara. Thank you.
Do you want me to cut that joke out at the end? So this is it. This is it. Sorry,